veterans. Our veterans are having a tremendous hard time. You know, the suicide rate, we have it down a little bit, but they are having a hard time. And I got a call from a number of people, including the great Joe Rogan. And he said, we have to do something about this. And I looked into it. I called Bobby, I called Oz, I called Marty and Jay. And it was uniform support. And I said, so why would we wait 3 or 4 years to get it done? Or 10 years, frankly. Let's get it done immediately. And that's what happened. It's probably never been anything happened so quickly. Everybody is so strongly in favor of this. It's for a lot of people, but it's for our military in particular. The suicide epidemic among veterans is a national tragedy. Since 9/11, we've lost over 21 times more veteran lives to suicide than on the battlefield. So we lose, think of that, 21 times more. And today we're bringing them new hope. I think you're going to see a big difference and a big reduction in that number. I want to thank Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's a fantastic, where are you, Bob? Over here. He always makes it difficult. He's done a great job, too. And people love him. And more importantly, your wife is here someplace, Bobby. She's out there. Where are you? The real boss in the family. It was fantastic. Thank you very much for being here. As well as FDA Commissioner Marty McCary, CMS Administrator Dr. Mehmet Oz, NIH Director Dr. Jay Bhattacharya. See how easy that name is? You know, it used to give me a little trouble. That was a tough name. Congressman Morgan Luttrell, who's a friend of mine and he's a real war hero. He knows something that a lot of us will never find out about. Retired U.S. Navy SEAL Marcus Luttrell, the two of them. I don't know what's in your blood, fellas. You guys are good mom and dad.
My mom and dad.
Yeah, good somebody. Good to have you. Joe Rogan, who's a fantastic person. We did a little interview before the election. We had over 300 million people. And I said, oh, man, I hope Kamala doesn't do it. And she didn't. He wanted her to do it, but she didn't. Someday Joe's going to explain why. I could tell you why. But along with many other, because she didn't want to, with many other veterans. And I just want to thank the people behind me are outstanding. It's an amazing group. The executive order I'm signing, we're actually signing the executive order today, is really a moment. It directs the FDA to expedite their review of certain psychedelics already designated as breakthrough therapy drugs. They're very much being discussed. It's one of the hottest things I think you're talking about, Oz, right? It's nothing. If these turn out to be as good as people are saying, it's going to have a tremendous impact on this country and other countries too. These treatments are currently in the advanced stages of clinical trials to ensure that they're both safe and effective for the American patients. And the nice part is we're actually doing this early, but it has been going on. Research has been going on for quite some time. But, usually with things like this, nothing ever happens, no matter how the research ends up. But we're changing that. This order will clear away unnecessary bureaucratic hurdles, improve data sharing among the FDA and the Department of Veterans Affairs, and facilitate fast rescheduling of any psychedelic drugs that become FDA approved. And we think many of them will go very quickly. And I have to say the most favored nations pricing that I established, has been knocking the cost of drugs down by 50, 60, 70, 80%. And I also want to thank you and Bobby for the great job you've done. It's incredible. The press refuses to write about it. I think it's probably as big as what we're talking about today. The drug costs are going down and by the way, Trump RX, which is the way you go to get your very low cost drugs. But when you think in my first term, for 28 years, drug prices went up and I got it down 1/4 or 1/8%. I was so proud of myself. It's the only one that in 28 years got them down. And I had a news conference to explain how great I was. I said, I'm the greatest there ever was. I got it down 1/8%. Okay. I was very proud because it only went up for 28 years. It went up. Now I got it down a little bit. And And now I got it down 50%, 60%, 70% with these guys. So now I am, But nobody wants to write about it. But it doesn't matter because the people have found out and they're getting, we're the highest, we were the highest in the world by far. Sometimes would be 10 times higher than other countries. You'd buy a drug, I call it the fat pill or the fat drug. You'd buy it in London, you'd buy it for $10 for a pill, let's say, or a pill generally. But actually, to be specific, London, $87, New York, $1,300. I said, how can that be possible? How can it be possible? $87. And actually, a friend of mine called me up and he said, he's a very rich guy, and he happens to be on this Ozempic, I guess, at the time. And it was not working, by the way. The guy was extremely successful, but highly neurotic. Got a lot of problems. I will not mention his name. He's begging me not to mention it because he's become quite famous. He's a big factor here. But he's very smart, very rich guy, very, very successful guy. And he said, hey, President, he used to call me Donnie. Now he calls me President, sign of respect. He said, I'm in London. I bought this stuff for $87. In New York, I pay $1,300. What's going on? I said, well, that's the way it is. We pay the highest prices in the world. And it sort of hit me that how ridiculous it is. Made, by the way, he checked it. He had a whole big research done on it because he couldn't believe it. Made in the same factory, same place, everything was the same except the price. And now we are the lowest price. We are tied. In other words, whatever the lowest price in the world is, that's the price we pay. That's a tremendous difference. So we'll be paying, they go up a little bit. So the 87 will go like to 120 and we'll go down from 1,300 to 120. So we'll have these massive price cuts and they've already started. And I think it's one of the biggest things, but unfortunately the press doesn't like to talk about it. But because if I were a Democrat, it would be headlines all over the place. But so I do that. That's why I like live television, actually. It's great because you can't do any cutting. But we're so honored by that. And that's going to have a huge impact on this also because the pricing, not only is it important, but the pricing is going good. And you're going to get the rescheduling done, right, please? So will you get the rescheduling done, please? They're slow walking me on rescheduling. Okay, you're going to get it done, right? In 2024 study from Stanford University, 30 special operation veterans with traumatic brain injuries underwent, it's called ibogaine treatment. Ibogaine. Remember the name. Is that pronounced relatively properly, would you say?
Yes.
I don't want to get it wrong. Ibogaine, because it's so important, and experienced an 80 to 90% reduction in symptoms of depression and anxiety within 1 month. Can I have some, please? I'll take it. I'll take whatever it takes. I don't have time to be depressed. If you stay busy enough, maybe that works too. That's what I do. In Texas, Republican leaders have already committed $50 million to the ibogaine research, and today the federal government is making a $50 million research investment in its own, and so that was just approved just last night. We're also opening a pathway for ibogaine to be administered to desperately ill patients under the right to try law. That's a law that I started and I got, right to try. Very proud of that. Was done in my first term. And I used to marvel at the fact that people that were terminally ill could not get a drug. They're terminally ill. They're going to die. And the FDA, right, Marty?
That's right.
Jay? The FDA was protecting them from dying, but they're going to die. And so we have these incredible drugs, and they may work and they may not work, but we wouldn't let anybody get them because they were bad for your health. But these are people that were going to die. And it never made sense to me. So one of the first things I did early in my term, and it was very tough to get, actually, hard to believe. It was very tough with Congress, but they came through. The Republicans came through. And we have something called Right to Try. And we've saved thousands and thousands of lives. That's if you're terminally ill or very ill, and there is a new drug that is not available because it's going through the process of the FDA, and Marty's cut that process down by 50%. We're down. It used to take 12 years, and now we have it down to 5 or 6 years, and it's one of the most important things that you can do. But if you're terminally ill and there's a new drug that may work or may not work, but it hasn't been approved yet. You sign a document, and you're not going to hold the country liable. You're not going to hold the drug companies or the insurance companies or anybody liable. And you have the right to try. And what it's done, and nobody wanted it. The insurance companies hated it. Even the doctors, they were all afraid of it because they didn't want to be sued. But I took all of the liability out of it. You sign a document, you're not going to sue the doctor, you're not going to sue the hospital, you're not going to sue anybody, including the country. And everybody signs it like immediately. And we have tens of thousands of people on this, and we've saved thousands and thousands of lives. And what it has done, we never thought of it so much as, but what it has done is in some cases, these drugs are working so good. It literally cures people that were terminally ill. But it's one of the things I'm most proud. I'm proud of a lot of things we've done, but that's one of the things we're most proud of, right to try. But I've always believed in ensuring that the American patients have access to breakthrough treatments and therapies with love for our veterans. And I have real love for our veterans. I was with a group yesterday. It's incredible what they've gone through. And care for American patients. Today's order will ensure that people suffering from debilitating symptoms might finally have a chance to reclaim their lives and lead a happier life. Just lead a happier life. They've been through so much. So I'd like to ask Secretary Kennedy to say a few words, followed by Commissioner McCary, Marcus Luttrell, Joe Rogan, and anybody in the group that would like to speak. You're tremendous people. I know many of you, and you're really highly respected people. And the Luttrell family is well represented, but I don't mind having both Luttrells. Both Luttrells can say a few words, okay? Great people. And so, Bobby, do you want to start it off, please?
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, and thanks to the leadership of President Trump for making this historic day possible. Under the executive order, HHS will accelerate research, approval, and access to new mental health treatments, including psychedelic therapies such as Ibogaine. We're taking this decisive step to confront one of the most urgent public health challenges facing our nation, the mental health crisis. More than 14 million Americans live with serious mental illness, and 1 in 4 adults experiences a diagnosable disorder each year. Suicide has risen by more than 30% over the past 2 decades, with another peak in recent years. Among veterans, more than 6,000 die by suicide each year since 2001. We have lost far more veterans to suicide than to combat. At the same time, millions of Americans living with depression, PTSD, addiction, and other conditions do not respond to existing treatments. We owe it to our warfighters and veterans to turn over every stone to alleviate the emotional and mental health blowback from their deployments. It's disturbing to me and to the president that hundreds, in fact, thousands of veterans are having to travel to Mexico or other countries to experiment with interventions that hold great promise, but for which our knowledge is still insufficient. This executive order will remove the legal impediments that block American researchers, scientists, physicians, and clinicians from properly studying these medicines, and where appropriate, establishing protocols for their safe therapeutic use. We're directing the FDA to prioritize therapies that have received breakthrough therapy designation, treatments that early evidence suggests may improve what we have today. We're expanding the use of right to try so that eligible patients with treatment-resistant conditions can access these therapies under medical supervision. We're also coordinating with the DEA and the Department of Justice to begin rescheduling reviews after successful phase 3 trials. When the FDA determines that therapy is safe and effective, patients should not face avoidable delays in access. At the same time, HHS will work with states